We all have bad habits. Well, maybe not Callie, but the rest of us do. The key is to be able to identify those habits and then implement the science-backed way to change them forever. Here to show you how to do that is triple board certified neuropsychologist and med-circle educator, Dr. Judy.
Your brain, your body, your mind, your soul. No one's working show with Callie and Kyle.
What is a habit you are trying to break? That bad habit you wish you just didn't do? Write it down in the comment section below and then listen up, because Dr. Judy is going to share some advice on how you can break that bad habit once and for all. The author of Stop Self-Sabotage, Dr. Judy, thank you!
Yay! Thanks for having me.
Man.
And thank you for having me, Callie.
Yes, thank you for having me, Callie. Really, goodness. This book outlines the 6 steps to stop something that we all do, which is self-sabotage. But what is that exactly?
So self-sabotage is when we get in our own way despite our best intentions. So we make a commitment, we say we want to do something, and then somehow we trip up our own progress.
Yes.
So you may be actually humming along, doing a great job, and then you'll do something that takes you many, many steps back.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? And I think sometimes it feels inexplicable, but there is an underlying driver of it. There's something that's causing you to go to self-sabotaging. And sometimes we are afraid of our own success. We're afraid of actually finally reaching that goal because there's pluses and minuses to everything. And so even that can be a driver for your self-sabotage is, but then when I finally get to that goal, it's gonna be challenging. For example, if I finally get to my ideal weight, I'm gonna have to maintain it. And that's exhausting, thinking about doing that for the rest of my life. And then so sometimes people will just start tripping themselves up and then they'll blame themselves, which of course, it's not their fault. Self-sabotage is a biologically driven and evolutionarily predisposed behavior that we all do. But when we find out what our own mix of self-sabotage is, we're gonna address the problem together with concrete solutions that I talk about in my book.
Fantastic. Now, you also talk about negative replacement behaviors. What are those and why do we have them?
So a lot of times when we have bad habits, we will sometimes try to kick that bad habit, but we end up instilling another bad habit in its place. So one really, I think, significant example might be alcohol abuse. So if you feel like you're using alcohol a little bit too much, okay, now you're gonna cut out alcohol, but then you end up overeating instead. And we, as human beings, we do have a propensity to want to replace a certain behavior with another one, you know, and sometimes our choice of that replacement behavior might not be the most helpful for us.
Yeah, one time I thought, I'm not gonna watch TV anymore. I'm gonna be that type of person.
Yeah.
And the
kind of person that everyone hates.
First day, yeah, exactly. Like, I don't own a TV in my house.
Yeah, oh, I hate it when people tell me that.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
So I go, all right, I'm not gonna watch TV. I sit on my couch to go turn on TV. I go, oh, I can't watch that. So I pull up YouTube on my phone and watch YouTube videos. And it took me at least 30 minutes before I go, wait a minute, this is not doing anything. Yeah. So that's an extreme example, but I feel like we all do this. Sometimes we realize it, like I did, and sometimes we don't. And it's when we don't realize it when we actually have the big problems. So what do we do when we don't even realize we have a negative replacement behavior?
Well, I think a really important thing is to just assess your ABCs. So this is not the alphabet, but it's actually something that stands for something in behavioral theory. A standing for antecedents or triggers, or the things that come before the behavior that you're trying to change. And B, of course, stands for behavior, and C stands for consequences. So what's the outcome of that? So if you're not really sure if your replacement behavior is negative or not, just look at the consequences. Look at what happens as a result of it.
Yeah.
After half an hour to an hour on YouTube, I personally get kind of bleary-eyed, like, oh. Like I start to feel a little sick if I've just watched video after video after video. So as a consequence that I'm fatigued, as a consequence that I lose my motivation to actually do the things that are on my to-do list.
Right.
And if that's happening, maybe you needed to give that behavior a little look and see what's going on and what's triggering you to do that behavior. And that's when you look at the antecedents, the things that happen before the behavior. Is it just because it's late night, you're by yourself and you're bored? Is that the antecedent? Or is it you had a rough day at work and you told yourself, I deserve this? And then that's why you do that binge watching.
Yes.
But whatever that antecedent is, nail that down, look at the consequences, and if you don't like what's going on, then it's time to really assess and change that behavior.
That's good. I'm normally not a big proponent of the A word which is awareness. I don't want to be.
You are totally self-aware.
No. I mean when people go, well, we want to bring awareness to something. Because
see.
I go, what? Then what?
Yeah.
You're just aware that there's a problem? That's not enough. But in this case, that awareness is actually the critical first step that has to be taken before you can even get to action, because you don't even know something might be wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Or you see the behaviors and you see the outcomes or the consequences, you don't like it, but you're like, why do I keep doing this? So you do have to look back. You do have to rewind before the behavior and be like, is there a pattern?
Yeah.
So whenever you start to reach for that YouTube, think back to the last 5 times you did it.
Yeah.
What was happening right before?
Yes.
It's important to ask that question.
Oh, that's so good. I hope you guys are listening to this and thinking about the behaviors that you want to change and thinking about what happens right before. So important. Now, right before, Dr. Judy walks us through a demo that we can do right here. You guys can do at home. I want you guys to see this inside look at a fantastic series by MedCircle and Dr. Judy. Here it is. How much of it is I actually need to have this drink as opposed to just the ritual of putting a drink together?
I think the ritual is an enjoyable part of something that oftentimes people who are struggling with substance abuse look forward to. So sometimes the replacement behavior has to have a ritualistic component to it. I have taught some of my patients to make tea or make coffee instead, in a way that mimics that ritual. You know, you put the cup out, tea especially, you can pick your tea leaves, you can mix certain things with other things, and it takes time, it takes a few minutes before you can enjoy your tea, and it builds a different type of more positive behavior in its place, but still maintains that enjoyable ritualistic element that they had with making the drink.
You can watch that entire series at medcircle.com. Dr. Judy, thank you for being one of our MedCircle educators. I just love doing those series with you.
I'm so honored.
Good.
You're so much fun to work with.
Thank you. Okay. You're going to walk us through an example. What is this called again?
So the first part that we're going to walk through is just noticing your ABCs.
Okay.
And so we're going to take a behavior that you maybe would like to change, maybe a habit that you're like, I don't love that I'm doing this. It's kind of not a great habit. And we're going to talk through it. So we're going to go through the ABC exercise. So do you have a habit that comes to mind?
How bad does the habit need to be?
As bad or as good as you want, Carl.
All right, well, I'm involved in organizing. No, I'm kidding. I pick my fingernails.
Okay.
All the time.
Okay.
And one of our developers was saying, why do you pick your fingernails so much? I go, I can't help it. This is just what I do.
You're just kind of doing
them.
Just
all day long. Pick
okay,
them.
so yeah, like think back to the last time you were picking your fingernails. What was going on right before?
I was talking to my boss. Because I remember thinking, I shouldn't be picking my nails while I'm talking to this guy, but I was.
And was it because you were like a little antsy or like, what was going on? What
I think I was a little antsy.
Okay.
Yeah. We had a lot of shoots today, and then I had a quick meeting with my boss, so my brain was going, I was going, so I think that was it.
Yep, so little feelings of being unsettled, antsy, right? Like a little nervousness maybe, like how am I going to get through my day? There's a lot to do.
Yes.
Antecedents, by the way, can be all kinds of things. They could be thoughts, they could be feelings, they could be situational, like, oh, I tend to pick my nails when I'm by myself and it's nighttime,
Yeah.
Or it could be, oh, I had a thought like, man, I have a lot to do today, and then you start to pick your nails.
Right.
So what are some other antecedents that you noticed from the last few times that you noticed you picking your nails?
If I don't have something for my hands to do. So if I'm watching TV and I'll just start picking because I need to be doing something. I have a slinky at my desk. And I find, maybe I'm getting too far ahead here, but if I'm obviously using the slinky, I can't be picking my nails. So I've kind of incorporated that as a way to keep myself from picking my nails.
Okay, great. And then what are the consequences of you picking your nails? Like, why don't you like that habit?
They look awful. Gosh, they're awful. And then I'm an adult who picks his nails.
So you like shake your hand and you're like, don't look at my fingers.
And I'm a guy who goes like this and nail clippings go on the floor. Like, that's gross.
Okay.
That's a gross thing to be.
Okay, so those consequences are actually motivators, in some ways. It's like, hey, I don't like this behavior. I don't like those consequences and I want to change it. So this is a great start. And after you identify those antecedents, I don't know if we missed anything else, or when you're antsy, when you're a little nervous, got a lot to do, a lot on your mind. You talked about when you have nothing else for your hands to do, so maybe there's a little bit of a boredom there. Is there anything else that we've missed?
I think we covered it.
Okay, amazing. So now that we know the antecedents and we know the consequences, which is sort of your motivation for why you want to change, if you don't like those consequences, we can move on to an awesome technique that athletes and CEOs and really successful entrepreneurs use. Are you ready?
Now Kyle Kittleson.
And now Kyle Kittleson. That's right.
Yes.
The technique is called implementation intentions.
Okay.
It's amazing. So it's a fancy name, but it's like such a simple technique. And the technique really is just to make a series of if-then statements so that when you find yourself in that antecedent, then what will you do? Because you just spelled out 5 antecedents for me. And you basically will create in advance, if fill in the antecedent, then I will do this. And the then is always going to be a replacement behavior. So you did jump ahead a little bit, which was great, which is a replacement behavior oftentimes prevents you from doing the problem behavior. So if you have a slinky, you can't pick your nails and play with a slinky at the same time.
Right.
So that's one type of replacement behavior. There's a lot of other ones though. So we've already kind of talked about one when you're bored and you're picking your nails, you can play with a slinky instead, maybe do a jigsaw puzzle, do anything else to busy your hands. And you should have a couple of things maybe around.
Yeah.
Like if you find, for example, that you tend to pick your nails when you're watching TV, then have those things around your living room where you watch TV. So I'm starting again. All right, let me grab a slinky, let me grab something else, let me grab some knitting. I mean, whatever floats your boat, right?
Yeah.
So what about when you're picking your...
I'm laughing because
Knitting.
I bought a knitting set.
Did you really?
Yeah, like 5 days ago.
Stop.
Because I was like, I should know how to knit by now.
That's amazing.
So I bought a beginner's
You're crushing it.
knitting
You are
set.
crushing it.
So
did you
this
know,
is perfect.
Did you know that knitting is the new mindfulness activity?
Yeah.
You are totally crushing it.
I am so ahead of the curve.
You are so
All right,
ahead
hey,
of
if
the
there are
curve.
any knitters out there that can help me, because if I showed you what I've knitted so far, it's just a string. It's nothing. We should put a picture right here of what I've knitted so far.
You
It's
really
awful.
should. You should.
Okay, so but
Yeah.
this is good. I can knit while I watch TV.
While you watch TV.
Yeah.
Now, let's
Relax.
talk about some of the other antecedents that you discussed, like maybe feeling a little antsy. Like, what will you do then? Like, so you're not going to have knitting when you're having meetings with your boss.
Right.
I mean, you could, but
Yeah, probably not.
Doug probably be okay with it, but
Yeah,
still,
right.
like, maybe not.
Yeah.
You might not have that at your disposal. So, like, what can you do instead?
Well, could I move to another behavior with my hands? Like sometimes you'll see me, I put pressure into my hands like this, and I don't think that's unhealthy, so I'm replacing that behavior, but I think that's maybe okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything else to busy your hands that doesn't require materials.
Right.
So that would be a good one. And also it feels good, when
Yeah.
you give yourself like a little self-massage.
That's right.
It's kind of nice. So maybe that is what you do. So if I feel antsy during a business meeting, I'll give myself a little hand massage and that will take the, kind of the focus off of like wanting to pick at my nails because it's also very soothing.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes the picking, it's really interesting that people do that when they feel nervous or antsy because there's a release with picking.
Yeah.
People kind of like picking. It's almost like anxiety relieving. So you want to substitute it with a behavior that's also anxiety relieving. So maybe that like self-massage is a good one. What about other times? You mentioned some other antecedents, like when you like have a lot on your mind, for example, maybe like your mind's racing and then you start picking too, because that's another maybe like anxiety response or like a nervousness response. So what else can you do? Like what if you were just feeling that way and it's not necessarily a meeting with your boss. You're not sitting at home watching TV.
Yeah.
It could be anywhere. You could be like in traffic, in a car. You could be at a coffee shop. I mean, it could be all different kinds of things. What are some other replacement behaviors just so that this doesn't get so boring? And
Right.
there's something else that you can put into the switch.
Well, it would be very easy to distract me on my phone. I don't know if that's the healthiest replacement behavior, but it's certainly one that I could do. But I ever since working at MedCircle and being able to interview all these doctors like yourself and get this education, I have been able to really, I guess, feel powerful in my brain. And that kind of sounds weird, but I think I would have the ability if I was in my car and I found myself wanting to go pick my nails because I was feeling anxious, to be able to quiet my mind and get mindful and present in the moment. And I don't think that's something I would have been able to do a year ago.
Yeah.
But getting the education that I've gotten just through talking with all the doctors at MedCircle, I feel like I have that ability now.
Amazing. Yeah, so you can just say, if I start to feel like wanting to pick my nails in the car, then I will remind myself to do something mindful, like take a couple deep breaths or have a centering thought or some kind of mantra. I think all of that's great. Now, the way to kind of put this into action is to actually write these implementation intentions down. Because as we're talking about them, they feel like they're flowing, it's easy to remember. But then when you're in the moment, sometimes sometimes you forget. And sometimes when you're nervous, you're like I remember there was something here, but I forgot what it was because your mind's already disorganized and there's a lot of other thoughts that are filling it.
Yes.
So I always say that it's important to put it down on paper somewhere, whether you write it in a notebook or you write it on a Post-it and put it in your wallet.
Yes.
It's just a reminder so that when that situation comes up, if I'm feeling already kind of disorganized and rattled, I just have to look at it real quick and I know, go right to the if that applies to the situation and then do the thing that I already planned.
Right.
So it's really important, a couple of other tips to do this if-then sort of implementation intention setup when you're feeling pretty good. So you don't want to do it when you're all distressed and already stressed out. You kind of want to do it at a time when you're feeling generally pretty good so that you can exercise the best part of your brain to come up with these great decision-making scenarios. And then when you do feel kind of rattled and distressed, then that's when you apply them. So it's important to kind of set that up in advance, write it down, and then follow through. And it's amazing that once you have this prescription, how easy it is to break that habit.
Yes, it's always simple when you guys explain it. Like it's because it's so good and it's so simple. And we used an arbitrary example with me picking my nails, right? This is not a life or death scenario here. But this same steps that you just walked us through can be used for somebody who might be drinking too much, who might be developing a substance use disorder or a dependency on something, or finding themselves with unhealthy behaviors, going out to the bar, doing whatever it is that they're doing, and use the same steps.
Yeah. Things like overeating, things like social isolation, procrastination, not exercising. And it's all about setting yourself up for success. And I think once you boil it down to the simple ingredients of the if-then, it also feels more doable. It feels tangible, like you can do it because it's just a simple statement. So the idea is that you come up with a series of these that covers all of the different scenarios that could come up that leads you to that bad behavior that you're trying to cut out.
Yes. Now, if at the top of this episode you did not have a bad behavior that you were trying to manage or fix, but now you've heard all of these things, what has come up into your brain? Has there been something you go, I can actually apply those and start making my life better? I'd love to know in the comment section below. Remember, Dr. Judy has links to this quiz that you can take to determine which areas of your life could be the reason that you self-sabotage and how to fix those. And it's also outlined easily in the 6 steps of her book. I know, you're ready. You're ready. I know, it's dinner time for her. So
Callie's ready.
She's getting a little, she goes, you know what would be a great habit to break? This little conversation so you can go feed me. Thank you. But you can check out those 6 steps in her book, Stop Self-Sabotage. Dr. Judy, any final words for our viewers?
Well, I think that it's really just about knowing that you can do it. Sometimes you have a bad habit for so long, you're like, this is just always gonna stick with me. And it's not true. You can make positive change at any time. Just trust the process. Know that these techniques are scientifically based. And we would love to hear your experiences and help you troubleshoot anything that's going on. So definitely comment below so that we can see and we can hopefully help you get through any types of barriers that might come up, because you can always get to change no matter how long a habit's been hanging around.
You listen to that? Always. I like that. Dr. Judy, always, always a pleasure. I'm Kyle Kittleson. Remember, whatever you're going through, you got this.